Pisces. This is your October 24 soul story. If you have a sun, rising or moon in the sign, this is your read. And this is Romy. Thank you so much for joining me and tuning into the channel. We're opening up this month with the energy of the Ace of Cups. I actually think you have quite a beautiful celebration, meeting or experience set to happen this month. And Venus certainly has some really beautiful conversations to pay attention to on the 4th, the 8th and the 15th, as it's going to be trining with Saturn, Mars and your ruling planet Neptune on the 15th. But before we get to that, there is a powerful new moon eclipse coming in on the 2nd in Libra. I think you're still coming to terms with a lot of what was revealed to you at that lunar eclipse in your sign last month. And you know, there's, I think, a realization that you have to start investing back and pouring some energy, love and time into the self or into the things that really matter and are now clearly taking more of a sort of priority in your world. Now that new moon eclipse also is activated with Black Moon Lilith, asteroid goddess, and so, you know, we're going to be having some fairly powerful primal emotional responses, you know, coming up to show us, to indicate to us exactly where we're at in terms of the soul story that's been playing out with this Aries and Libra. North and South node. And remember, in Libra energy, you know, there's this firm focus around what is happening within the relationships in my world, and you know, how am I perhaps in that energy exchange of reciprocity, what's been going on with regards to that. I think to a degree, even though change is hard, staying where you are can also feel equally uncomfortable, sometimes even harder. And so there's this recognition with the Ace of Cups that you're seeking some new beginning, perhaps one is already arriving for you, and that actually you can walk this new path with love, even if something is really challenging, even if it's painful, even if it's asking a lot of you. How you treat yourself through the process and how you treat yourself throughout the month of October really matters. You know, you have to advocate for your needs. This is a time when you've learned it's not about self-abandoning anymore. And you know what? Something can look great on paper. It can look great in someone else's eyes, but for you, maybe it's not so great. And I think you need to honor this. I think you need to really recognize for yourself the things that you're just wanting to say no to now. Four of Staffs, there's this celebration I'm talking about, and it's really coming in with like quite a strong foundation. So it just feels like you can kind of find your rhythm with this, and you're actually in a state of flow with regards to something as well, which is really beautiful. I want to say to you, you know, we can learn so much from the in-between. It offers so much richness if we place a value on it, and that means that we have to learn from the past, you know, learning from the setbacks that we've had, but be deeply present with ourselves and inspired by what's to come. And, you know, in that sort of approach, we can really find that this, I'm not where I want to be yet, but actually where I am has got so much to teach me. There's so much that is still good, that I'm still grateful for. And that, you know, my ability to be able to find some peace and some harmony in this place is going to make an enormous difference as to, again, how I actually navigate this next chapter of my life. And I think as Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini on the 9th, you know, a lot of the questions that you'll be asking yourself are around this. You know, what opportunities have come up for me that I've taken advantage of or that I'm leaning into? I'm not where I want to be yet. There's still some things that are changing inside me. My inner world still has to match the things that I desire so that I can come into full alignment with it. So it will be a really productive time if you allow it in that regard, right? Now, Pluto stations direct in Capricorn on the 11th. We know we're coming to this sort of end of a cycle next month, this firm drawing a line. And I think, you know what? To a certain extent, you might still be seeking clarity this month, but I think it's already there. Maybe you're just struggling with the answer because of what the answer means or represents to you. So I would invite you to just consider and reflect on that truth. You've got another ace coming through. This feels really optimistic in terms of some of the new energy that's coming in and welcoming you, but it requires you to sort of take charge of it and actually direct it And you know, it's all well and good to kind of want something and to be in a place where we can identify very clearly what isn't working or is no longer serving us around us at the moment, and kind of, I suppose, what stings, if you like. But often we can suppress these things and then end up in super complicated situations, situationships even, you know, or dynamics, because we're either too frightened, too fearful, we simply don't know how to extricate ourselves, or we're just not being honest enough with ourselves to say, this really isn't working for me. I think you have a really beautiful opportunity in October with what's coming through here to actually say, enough is enough. Like, this is what I'm going to do. This is my attention. This is my promise. And actually really make something of that. Knowing, of course, that the eclipses are already providing divine detours. And, you know, that new moon eclipse is going to be throwing up the questions, what am I doing? Where am I going? And then what is fate saying as it steps in powerfully to reveal, to show you something? Mercury shifts into Scorpio on the 13th. And this energy is compelling, right? In fact, the whole month of October, this is my word really for the, you know, the season, is compelling. We feel compelled to act in certain ways, to express ourselves in a certain way, to focus on something. Mercury in Scorpio will hold intention and be quite deliberate and intense at times to kind of get to the root and the heart, but also brings huge amounts of charisma and allure and interest and intrigue. And you know, you've got the Hierophant coming through here, so how you're learning, maybe there's a slightly different approach. How you're teaching and how you're sharing is also coming and landing in a very different way, and people are really sort of hanging on your words and interested in your perspective. You might just have something to say that feels like it bucks the trend, or it's something that's showing a completely alternative view of something. If that is what you're leaning into, it's going to be really powerful through that period. Okay, keep that in mind. You're talking about commitment here, you know, you're talking about, what do I need to do in order to sort of find a balance between what has been and what I want to invite in. So it's kind of like what is too structured or ordered, and where I need some more freedom or flexibility. And it's like trying to find that sweet spot. I think there's something about October asking that of you. And I think you're going to need to take the lead on that. I don't necessarily feel like anyone else is going to come up and say, hey Pisces, like this is like the perfect solution for you. I think you've got to advocate for your needs this month. And don't be surprised if actually people will meet you more than halfway in terms of that. I feel like you've got some harmonious exchanges, but only when you're super honest and authentic. And it's just like, almost like your willingness to just walk away from something if it's not going to serve you, because you understand any kind of complicated situationship or anything that is just stinging you or causing you issues or problems that you have been suppressing or avoiding is no longer something to tolerate. So the minute that you kind of fully step into your power, I feel like something kind of bold happens as a result of that, right? Now we're going to welcome this full moon in Aries, same day as Venus shifts into Sagittarius, all this fire energy. I think it's interesting. It feels, I mean, you've got 8 of Cups here. There's a release, there's a closure, there's a goodbye, there's an ending, there's a moving on. But I actually feel like it kind of boosts perhaps something regarding your prosperity, your opportunities financially, but it might mean that you have to take a bit of a risk or something, like you have to leave something behind in order to move on to something better. But I also think it gives your confidence a boost. I think you're, in a place where you're finally ready to just kind of sort of bet on yourself with regards to something, or just go, okay, like now is the time. And I think that as the energy is moving at such a warp speed now, and you're contemplating, I'm coming up toward the end of this year in the next few weeks, what have I achieved? Have I, held the promises to myself that I made, back early on in the new year? And, there's a sort of urgency and a compelling series of events that I think will unfold in October to ensure that you get to where you're supposed to be. And part of that might mean, a sad but also a necessary moving on, letting go, or giving up on something, okay? Full moon in Aries, though, is going to give you the fire, and I think often we need to be in our fire energy to sort of take that step that we know is going to bring about some fairly significant shifts in our world and affect not just us but other people around us. We've got the moon. I think, you know, you're leaning into some uncertainty, but at the end of the day, uncertainty is just, you know, not having all of the answers about what the future holds. And, you know, that's the same as when we feel hopeful, right? We feel hopeful, but we don't necessarily know how everything's going to come together. So we can just reframe like how we're looking at something. Yes, we don't have all the answers. Does that mean that we can't move forward, or that we shouldn't make the decision, or that it can't be right for us? No. I also think, you know, as some fears are activated, remember what I talked about with Black Moon Lilith coming through around that new moon eclipse, you're going to be seeing upfront and personal the way that some things are still feeling like they've got quite a hold on you, and you might be a bit surprised as to the degree to that is the case. And with an Aries moon, you know, there's a little bit of frustration, some you know, rising tension that can happen and go from sort of 0 to hero quite quickly. So you might find yourself in some situations where that is happening. Here, there's the choice, I think, because it would be really easy to wade into something, but I think you are choosing more wisely. I think you're learning from so much of the setbacks, and I think that even though it's difficult, there's a huge part of you that's just going, no, I ain't doing it. I'm not going back to that. I'm not that person. I'm not willing to participate in that kind of an energy. And because I think there's good things happening for you through the course of this month, you're just going to be like, I want to be over here because this is what feels right for me and this feels good to me. So you do you, you know. So I think be mindful of that in and around the energy of the full moon. Now, coming into Scorpio season, you know, there's that desire to want to sort of broaden your horizons. It's ninth house that gets lit up here, and, you know, the compelling energy of October wants you to resolve things that are not in balance, and you might need to look further afield as to how you make that happen or what that means to you. There's a lot of kind of learning and educating and upskilling yourself coming through in October. If you don't know something, you don't know how to do something, or something is intriguing you, you will take the time to actually go and look it up, or inquire with those people that have the experience or the knowledge, and that's going to go a long way to really help you feel more confident and actually validated in some of your thinking that there are other people that feel the same or have walked this path or have something super valuable to offer, which means that you too can have that kind of an experience and trajectory sort of coming up in this next chapter. Now, of course, this month it's Halloween Samhain, and it means that the veil is at its thinnest, and so your capacity to tune in with your own spirit guides, your soul family in the celestial realm is super strong, which means you'll get important messages and downloads, and you can really commune to help advance yourself and, you know, really allow yourself, I think, to kind of quantum jump you know, into the future timelines that are existing for you at this moment. Just be super careful of extra energetic hygiene around this time. You know, if you're super open, then you're more likely to be able to pick up unwanted attachments and, you know, really feel the psychic or energetic drain of that, okay? But something very meaningful and personal to you toward the end of the month is also being highlighted. It's like a cause. It's like something that you're like, I have to do this. I have to look into this or follow this up. And, you know, it's not really about anyone else. It's just that I need this for me. Not everyone might understand it. You will. It's important. And I think take the time and space to give yourself in order to do that. And it's going to make a huge difference to how you look back, not just on October, but actually on the entirety of the year, because this is something that matters deeply to you in your heart space, okay? If you're new to the channel, our last 3 cards we're going to look at in the extended reading, you'll find the link below. We'll talk for another 30 minutes or so. We're going to look at personal and a relationship card for you as well. Your investment means the world. It helps me to keep showing up for the free readings. I'm just going to go ahead and clarify these cards and see the direction we'll take this reading. So I want to just tell you about my new journal, which is on pre-order and going to be arriving in November. Super excited. It sort of completes the trilogy of my oracle deck and my book, and I've really created it as a sort of complement, I think, to the existing planners and journals that you may use, because it's going to be almost more like a soul Bible. It holds all of like the key material insights that you have about yourself that you're going to want to return to time and time again. So this is something that's going to be with you for a lifetime, you know. And you can find all of the details, like limited offers that are on just now for the pre-order on the website romywiser.com. And of course all my other sacred titles are over there as well, including ways to work with me. Make sure you sign up to my newsletter, because you'll always get first insight as to what's going on as well. Let's have a look at this. 8 of Cups, 9 of Swords, King of Swords. Okay, all the decks I use always listed below. Temperance coming through there. Interested about that Wheel of Fortune for you. Really do like pay attention to those Venus trines coming through. Just a reminder, Saturn on the 4th, I'm trining with Mars on the 8th and Neptune on the 15th. The 15th particularly will be auspicious for you. I just feel like if you need to have important conversations or do things that, you know, are really needing some more positive conditions and energy to support you, that's the time to be mindful of it. So I'm just looking at Life Soul Vision Oracles is my deck. Let's see how it wants to join this conversation. Queen of Earth. We've got the guide and the gift. Equinox, balanced release. Love all that green coming through for you. It feels just really growth filled. Soul stories. We've got Rise in Love. The Wishing Tree. Okay, and I'm going to have a look at a couple more oracle cards that we are going to be addressing in the extended. What do we have here? Sacred Space, Pisces. And then the Time Traveler cards, which felt really appropriate for this month, as energetically, vibrationally, we are so tuned in and accessing different dimensions in a more compelling way. You have Stillness, a Zen monastery in Japan. Beautiful. Okay, we are going to explore that. They feel very similar in their message in the extended. Thanks for joining me. Have a beautiful month of October. Please go check out my journal. Make sure you secure your pre-order for November delivery. And I am going to see you again next week.